Hello, everybody, and welcome back to a brand new edition of KerVAM, a Doctor Who podcast where, well, today we're doing what we normally do, which is talk about the DVDs and Blu-ray releases of Doctor Who. Of course, the season 13 Blu-ray was recently released with much AI-related controversy, so we're going to be delving deep into the box set, what we think of the AI and the decisions they've made creatively in restoring it using AI, as well as all of the special features and documentaries, including the Ian Marter feature. And yeah, just delving real deep into that box set, into season 13 as a whole. I think it's a classic part of the show. But of course, separately to this, we have recently had an announcement on the future of Doctor Who, because the last time we were here podcasting with you a few months ago, things looked pretty grim, I think it's fair to say. There was a pretty bad cliffhanger ending to the reality war. There was no announcement of anything. There was rumours galore of, the show going on hiatus and just nothing happening, frankly. And so we have finally had the announcement that there will be a Christmas special next year in 2026. So we've only got just over a year to wait. I mean, I feel like we're just going from long delay between series to long delay between series, but that's what we're doing. We have a Christmas special next year written by Russell. Then there will be an announcement about more Doctor Who coming, is what is said in the press release, which is good news. As to who's going to be producing that new series or episodes of Doctor Who is unclear and intriguing, and we'll certainly get into that. Alongside that, it was also confirmed that The War Between the Land and the Sea will be airing in December in the UK and in February on Disney Plus for everywhere else in the world, unless you've got a VPN. And so we're going to start off by chatting about both of those things before we get into season 13. Bill, I will come to you first. Let's talk about Doctor Who. Doctor Who is back. We've only got 13 months to wait until a new episode of Doctor Who. I wouldn't necessarily say that a Christmas special written by Russell is like my dream episode of Doctor Who at this point, but does it feel better that at least we've got something and we kind of know that the future is relatively secure for Doctor Who?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's probably the best way to look at it. I think at least, yeah, it's going to be secure. Obviously, I think we all kind of knew that Disney would be pulling out of it, and they have now, obviously,
Yeah.
and they've confirmed that. So it'd be interesting to see what the BBC do in regards to like, any. I'm guessing they're probably, if they are going to approach any further streamers, they probably won't do it for a good while yet. They might have a sort of just a break for at least a year or two where
Yeah.
it's just in-house again, with the addition of Bad Wolf. Yeah, I don't know how to feel about another episode of this current era,
Mm,
but at least, as you say, we know that the show 100% has a future now. Like,
yeah.
I kind of always felt like, well, it was probably gonna come back like at some point anyway. I didn't feel like we were going to have a true Wilderness Years 2.0 like
Yeah.
situation there.
Yeah.
But I was kind of concerned maybe, um, we could have had like at least a year or two off, but it looks like that's not really going to happen as such because we've still got something for next year with this
Yeah.
Christmas special. And then, yeah, as you say, something will be said, presumably probably in the next few months about what is going to come after that,
Yeah.
and whether or not, Russell is going to stay on as a showrunner. I mean, I don't mean any disrespect to him at all. Like, I
Mm,
think, he's a great writer and he was very great showrunner, first time around. And, even some of the episodes he's written in the past few years have been really good as well. But I just think, maybe we do just need to probably just start afresh with someone else, I think, now, and just kind of say, yeah, this current era clearly just, for whatever reason, I don't think the majority of it is actually Russell's fault as such. I think, like, yes, his writing has been a bit all over the place, but I don't think that's really been like the biggest kind of issue with it. I think there's some kind of obvious stuff that's gone on behind the scenes with Disney. Um, which I don't know, we may find out one day about like the full details of that. But if we do, it won't be for like good, what, 15, 20 years. It might be
yeah.
like
I
just
mean,
something that's just kind of left
yeah.
there for a while, and
Yeah.
yeah, we just have to guess. But at least, yeah, as you say, at least it has a there's sort of we know what's going to come in the next like 2 years anyway. We
Yeah.
know that there will be a Christmas special next year, and presumably at some point in 2027, a series after that as well.
Yeah, that certainly was the implication that I took from reading the press release. Was like, it's not that we're then going to have to wait another 2 years for an actual series. Like, almost this Christmas special gives them time to be able to get some sort of production team in place, some scripts, and some idea of what they're going to do next, for hopefully a maybe autumn 2027 season. Seems most likely, in my head, but ultimately we don't know. But certainly I think that announcement will come in the next few months, as you say, Bill. So Ryan, I feel like the kind of elephant in the room is the fact that we don't technically know who the Doctor is going to be in that Christmas special. Because we can debate and say that Billy Piper is the Doctor, but I feel like even Russell or no one's really wanting to absolutely confirm that that's the case. So if you could imagine what this Christmas special is going to look like, what would be your prediction?
I think Billy Piper is probably, if she is going to be, I think she's just going to be a one-off special transitional Doctor in the vein of the War Doctor, something like that.
Okay.
Like, that's probably the best guess. I mean, and if they are going to do it, they're going to have to film it at the beginning of next year because it won't be too long before Billy Piper does season 3 of Wednesday, and that's a major hit.
Yeah.
And I think they're going to start filming that in around April when they do Wednesday. So they're gonna if they want Billy Piper, they're gonna have to do it very quickly.
Yes.
So, yeah, this is gonna be a weird one. I wonder if I don't know how to feel about this. If this is done, I honestly. After this, I'd be very surprised if Russell stays on as showrunner after this Christmas special. I'd be very surprised, honestly. I mean, the whole Disney thing, we kind of all knew that was going to happen this past year, basically. And I think everyone's kind of thought the whole deal was going to end. I mean, I think there was that Deadline article that came out recently about, that Disney didn't have much enthusiasm for Doctor Who, and that's why they didn't make an announcement or didn't put out much marketing, or why they kept digging their heels because they just kind of forgot or just gave up on it. And it does make me wonder, like, if they should have made that deal with Disney in the first place. I mean, I know, granted, that it does look really good at times, but I'm just wondering, is that really beneficiary to the show, really? Does it really help? I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
This is going to be very weird. I wondered if this is going to be Russell's last story. Let's say if it is Russell's last story, I'm wondering if he's using this as a big, like, end all, wrap everything up, all the different loose ends.
If it's Russell's last episode, you know who else is going to be in it. Absolutely guaranteed that David Tennant's turning up, obviously.
Oh my god, yeah, it's pretty much guaranteed. I mean, I think there was a rumor going around, and bear in mind this is only a rumor, so this could just be absolute bogus. This could be just an absolute garbage rumor. It's nonsense. But yeah, people theorizing that it's going to be David Tennant and Billy Piper teaming up with Catherine Tate as the companion, and they're going to take on the Daleks, and it's going to be a big finale story. As a bit of a homage to 20th anniversary to 2006 when it was David Tennant and Billy Piper, when Catherine Tate made her first appearance. It's going to be like that. And there's also rumors that maybe they could try and get Ncuti Gatwa back for one last time, just so they can let him have his big moment with the Daleks. Which,
like, I wouldn't be as against that as an idea. I feel like if they could find a way to bring Ncuti back into that Christmas special, I think that would be the least bad of the options, given how much he kind of had a pretty bad exit, and we've talked lots about the reality war and the issues with that, and so to give him a bit more of a send off, have him meet the Daleks, whatever you say, Ryan, actually that might be quite a good way to kind of go out. I don't know, I just feel like that would be good.
Yeah, and I don't know if there's any truth to this rumor or not, but if it is the Daleks, honestly, just go for it, really. I know I said at the beginning of back when we were doing the 60th anniversary specials, like maybe it's best to give the Daleks a break and try something new with all these bring back lesser numbers. But at this point, I'm just like, where's the Daleks when you need them? By the time it's Christmas next year, it will have been 5 years since the Daleks were last shown on TV. It's mental, and I never thought I'd say it, but yeah, I'm craving for the Daleks to come back. And I'm wondering also, if it is a big wrap of everything, are they actually going to bring Susan back properly and actually give that some closure? Are they going to address the boss, and if that's connected to the Daleks or not? Are they actually going to address Rogue? If not, if he's going to be trapped in a hell dimension forever.
I mean, I feel like the problem here is it's going to be another one of these episodes that, like, the casual audience who are kind of tuning in on Christmas Day cannot enter into it at all because Russell's choosing some nonsense fan servicey stuff. Like, if this wasn't Russell's last episode and actually he's doing the next season, whatever, then I would almost prefer this to be a bit more of a, like, Christmassy episode that's a bit more able for someone who's a casual fan to enter into it and also use it as a way to set up the next season. I think that would work better. I don't think kind of it plays into Russell's strengths, having his last ever episode being a Christmas special. I mean, the end of time at least spread over to New Year's Day, so I feel like you could have it be a bit, the first part, the two parts are quite different. Obviously, many people have many different thoughts on the end of time, but I think it works well that part 2 was a New Year's Day special ultimately, and could just be a big all-in everything story to wrap up the era. And so, because I feel like that's kind of, if this is Russell's last episode, that's kind of the comparison episode. Really, is the end of time and what he did there, and it would be kind of doing that again in probably 60 minutes on Christmas Day. I just think that's a recipe for disaster.
Well, if it's gonna be like a 60-minute wrap up everything, it's gonna be less end of time and more time with the Doctor, where they Stephen Moffat tried to wrap up everything with Matt Smith here in 1 hour-long episode and do many things. And did that really work? Really?
Well, I mean, the regeneration scene is lovely, but apart from that, The Time of the Doctor is not the best episode ever written. Is fair.
Good ideas and moments aside, it is a mess. But who knows what could happen with this last episode, whether it's Russell's last hurrah, or if he could use it, or if it's a more easy transitional episode to ease us on into a new era with a new Doctor. If he is going to stay on a showrunner for this new Doctor's era, whatever that may be, hopefully he's learned his lessons. I don't know. We shall see or not. And again, if it's his last episode, even if it does end up being bad, there's no way it can be as bad as Wishworld and the Reality War. Let's be fair. There's no way it can be as bad as
it should at least be the script that it's meant to be that actually then gets filmed in one go and then transmitted, rather than rewriting half of the script because the lead actor decides to leave halfway through once they filmed it. So hopefully that will at least give it more, competence and together as an episode.
And it's hearing the original plans for that Reality War, the original ending. I don't know, the original 45-minute version of that. I don't know if I would have liked that either, to be honest.
With Susan and Poppy standing and watching the Doctor and Belinda in the episode.
Poppy turning out to be Susan's mum. It's
Well,
I don't know if I would have enjoyed that either.
It's annoying because I feel like that's going to be one of those things that we know for an absolute fact is sitting on someone's computer, someone's server and hard drive somewhere, that whole last 15 minutes of that episode, but it will never get released because officially that doesn't exist and that never happened. And we will never know, even though, like, Carol Ann Ford is literally just saying it at conventions. Like, it's so clear that that's what happened. So,
What I'm hoping for, and also, again, this probably won't happen, but what I'm hoping is they give us a lot more transparency, because there's all these big conflicting stuff, like Carol Ann Ford saying, like, oh, we had this original ending and everything that's happened. And then Russell saying, this was always the plan. This was always going to be Shooty's last thing. And I'm just like, and him saying, there's not going to be any more gap years. There won't be any gap years. But then this happens. And it's like, I want transparency. I don't want any more lies. I don't like being lied to. So... but that probably won't happen. But
well, can we at least agree that from now on, the last 2 seasons of Doctor Who are Series 14 and Series 15, not Season 1 and Season 2, because it's completely irrelevant now. And I mean, the next season of Doctor Who, will that be another series 1? Will that be series 16? I really hope it's series 16, because otherwise it just wouldn't make any sense whatsoever. But I mean, kind of give up at this point. Okay, so that's Doctor Who. I feel like we've got 13 months until the next episode, so I'm sure we will do a podcast specifically theorising on that special and the future of Doctor Who. So we'll just keep the conversation brief at this point. And Charlie will hopefully be sharing some thoughts later on in the podcast as well. Bill will just briefly mention The War Between the Land and the Sea. It's coming out in December at some point. Would you say you have much anticipation for it, or is it kind of like, well, it's new Doctor Who related content, so it'll be, I'll watch it? I don't know. Are you feeling much excitement?
To be honest, I keep forgetting that it's even coming out. So I think that's not really a good sign. But
Yeah.
I think it's just, just as you were saying, like, at least it's something. It's something new. It's something Doctor Who related. I mean, it doesn't necessarily look bad from what little we've seen of it. Um, it's just, I don't know. I suppose just after the reality war and everything, and just the way things have panned out over the last couple of years, I don't have low expectations, but I don't really have high expectations either. I'm just like, oh yeah, that's a thing, isn't it? And yeah, I'm glad we're getting it, and I'm glad they are basically kind of continuing that Christmas tradition. Even though I bet it's probably not the sort of thing that like works as something for Christmas. Like it seems a lot darker and a lot more mature than like the average Christmas special. But I suppose they're just making do with what they've got like already because they've shot it, so they need to show it. And you may as well just get it out this December, and it gives us fans something to talk about. Like even if it turns out to be not very good, like it's still 5 more episodes, I guess, of something to talk about.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I mean, I think, as like I mentioned to you guys beforehand, my concern is they'll release it all in one go, which will be a nightmare from a podcasting perspective. But I mean, and I will have to binge watch it because if I go on any social media, I will obviously find out spoilers for it. So it'd be a bit of a shame if they do that. And part of me feels like, kind of, given we now know that there's not a Christmas special or there's not an episode or 2 until the end of next year, I feel like airing this in like March next year would have been a nicer like bridging of the gap between Doctor Who things rather than dumping it in December. But to be fair, it is the first. I just checked this, and it is the first time since 2008 that there has been a full series of Doctor Who and a full series of a spin-off in the same year. Or maybe it's 2011. Is it 2011? I guess Series 6 did air all in 2011, didn't it? Okay, 2011, sorry. But 14 years, because Class aired in 2016 when there was no series of Doctor Who. So we're spoiled basically this year with a Disney series of Doctor Who and this spin-off we didn't want. You know, we're spoiled as Doctor Who fans. Ryan, are you much excitement for this spin-off?
Well, my niece certainly is. There was the trailer at the end of Reality War, and she thought it looked cool. So she's excited, especially since it's Christmas. I mean, I don't know if she'll be able to watch it because we don't know what the age limit is going to be on it.
I sense it might be a little bit more. I don't want to say it's not Torchwood level, but I feel like it's going to be more grown up than Doctor Who.
Yeah, hopefully it's a more manageable level for her. Hopefully, I'm hoping it's good. But yeah, there are times I just keep forgetting that that's coming out, which is never a good sign. And the fact that Disney have pushed back their release worldwide until February and probably dumping it all in one go, just like
definitely.
this. I mean, that's making me nervous because it's like, do they have confidence in this, or are they just like, at this point, they're just like, oh, let's just do it out. Who cares? Like, it's nothing. Does that mean it's not very good, or is it? Yeah, after being burnt by Wishworld and Reality War, I'm just hoping for something good quality Doctor Who related media, brand new Doctor Who related media again, and again, all we have to go off is just one trailer, and yes, it does look cool. The new Sea Devil design looks quite good. There are times where it kind of looks a bit like a race reversed Shape of Water at times. So that should be interesting, and I'm yeah, I'm interested. It does look quite good, but yeah, I'm just a bit worried with the way they planned out the release of this, and the more likely indication they're just going to dump it all in one go.
Yeah.
It does leave me wondering, like, do they even have confidence in this spin-off, or are they just doing it for the sake of it?
It does almost feel like this spin-off doesn't really matter, because they're not going to make another season of whatever this is. Like, clearly with Disney gone, there's no money to do more than just Doctor Who. So like, it's not like we're going to get any other spin-offs. And this was all bought and paid for by Disney. You know, they filmed it a year ago, and I think it was August, September last year. So it's been sat in the can for ages. So I feel like they're kind of just chucking it out, chuck it in the festive period in the UK. Why not? It's a time to put it out, and then we move on and focus on Doctor Who in 2026, because it's, I don't know, it doesn't have any long-term potential at all.
Yeah, the fact that this was going to be like they said it was going to be like the first of many Doctor Who spin-offs as part of
The
this
Whoniverse.
universe, and well, this part of this Disney plan, and well, it seems like all those plans have gone to waste. So the fact that the Whoniverse could practically be no more at this point, and we probably won't be getting any spin-offs for quite a while. It's like, what was even the whole point of this Whoniverse to begin with? It's
I do kind of feel like
good.
if the BBC could turn back time to 3 years ago and not sign with Disney and do something else, I feel like they maybe would have done that, because I don't feel like this has worked out great for Doctor Who, really. Like, sure, we've had 2 seasons of Doctor Who with a great actor as the Doctor, like, that has been really good. But on the whole, the 2 seasons of Doctor Who haven't been the strongest seasons. There's been a lot of issues. Disney have caused a massive delay to the future of the show, essentially. And I don't know, it just doesn't feel like it was worth it.
Yeah, I feel like if this was going to be the end result, they shouldn't have signed that deal with Disney to begin with. Yes, I know nowadays times are tough and budgets at the BBC are no longer like how they used to be, but at this point, it's like, as I said before, with these bigger budgets, and yes, it may make your product look great, but what does it add up to in the end if it's just going to end up, well, the way it is? I mean, I know it's the bit of a cheap answer, but you look at Omega, how he was presented, he was kind of made a bit cheaply with the gold mask, but it looked good. The design was good. Yes, it was made a bit cheaply, but again, it worked to its advantage. How can you make that? How could that be improved by a gigantic bag of bones in the recent finale? It's
just like they just had too much money and didn't need it to spend on it. I mean, yes, you always want more money to make a program, but like, I kind of hope that this gives them the opportunity to kind of reassess and say, actually, this show doesn't need to compete with Star Wars or Stranger Things or like these high-end sci-fi drama fantasy stuff on Netflix or whatever. Like, it's a little BBC show. It just doesn't need to be that big, and it's okay.
Yeah, exactly. I think the thing is, as I said, they're trying to capitalize on Star Wars and Marvel with this whole universe idea, but as we can clearly see what happened here with the end of the Disney deal, it just hasn't worked out. And I feel like, yes, if you're going to make it cheaply, maybe that's the best solution. Maybe that will offer you the best results. Maybe trying to go chasing this trend, it's not going to end up working out well for them. And yes, we've had some brilliant stories like Wild Blue Yonder, Boom, Lux, and so forth, and Story of the Engine. They've all been fantastic stories, but looking at the seasons as a whole, the era collectively, it hasn't really amounted to anything satisfying as a whole, especially when you look at the finales like Legend of Ruby Sunday, Empire of Death. Just kind of whatever. And well, less said about which one the reality war the better. So it's
Yeah. Well, it's going to be interesting times. We have a lot more clarity and security for the future of Doctor Who. I kind of agree with what you said earlier, Bill, that I kind of didn't ever really feel like Doctor Who was just going to disappear for 10 years. I kind of felt like something was going to get sorted out. But it is also nice to know that like something is sorted for next year, and they're clearly very much gonna sort a new season, whether they find a new partner to do it with, whether they do it themselves, or how that's going to look like, who knows. But I think that can give us at least some positivity for the future of the show. Whether that is with Russell T Davies or not, it remains to be seen. But Ryan, you mentioned. Oh, sorry. Do you want to go one more thing?
And so, yeah, very quickly, what we've had now is probably we're not going to get Wilderness Years 2, but more like Wilderness Months, basically.
Yes.
Just the
Yeah.
Wilderness Months.
I mean, from here, technically, from right now, I think it's less time than we had between Power of the Doctor and the Star Beast. I think it's less. That was more. That was like 13. That was October 2022 to November 2023. So I guess it's about the same amount of time. I mean, obviously we haven't had an episode for like 6 months already, but from right now we've only got that long to go, so it's not so bad. And yeah, with The War Between the Land and the Sea, we will cover it in podcast form. Once we know what the release schedule is, we'll be able to clarify that a little bit more. Realistically, if they drop it in one go, it's going to be 1 or 2 big podcasts discussing the whole lot. But if we can do it episode by episode, I would love to, and we will try. But it just depends on how that's all released. Well, let's go back in time now. We've got a tenuous link because there was, of course, Sutekh in the season 1, series 14, I'm calling it now, finale. We go back 50 years to season 13 and the new Blu-ray release that came out a couple of weeks ago. On this podcast, we love talking about Classic Doctor Who. We love talking about the Blu-ray box sets. That's one of the reasons why we started the podcast. We've covered almost all of them so far. We're up to, I think this is number 17 or 18 box sets now. We've only got 3 colour sets left, which is season 21, season 16 and season 11. So we are very nearly there on the colour side, which is great. But yeah, we're talking about season 13 today. And I think it's fair to say, Bill, this is a pretty classic season. Would you say this is one of the strongest seasons of Classic Who as a whole?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's weird going from the current era to talking about the Hinchcliffe era because it's just night and day. It's a weird comparison. Yeah, it's just such a. I mean, it gets gushed about a lot anyway. This whole kind of period in Doctor Who's history, but I think it's for good reason. I think the Philip Hinchcliffe era deserves all of that praise that it gets. And I think, yeah, season 13 pretty solid across the board, really. I don't really care much for Planet of Evil, but I think beyond that, I mean, I can't really complain that much. Like, yeah, Android Invasion, it's definitely a weaker kind of link compared to the others, but I still kind of enjoy that story, even though it's kind of because it's, I think, Terry Nation and it feels a bit more sort of maybe a bit more old-fashioned than kind of the rest of the season does in terms of like going back maybe to the 60s way of doing things.
And I do feel like the Android Invasion has got one of the most iconic moments of classic Doctor Who, the fact that this guy just doesn't think to take the eye patch off his face for however many years, and that would actually solve the plot of the whole story if he just took that eye patch off. I think that's just iconic, personally.
Yeah, that is a really funny moment. So yeah, I mean, it's just so like iconic, and I think it's, as I say, just deserving of all the praise it gets. And yeah, it was just really exciting when this got announced as the next collection Blu-ray, and obviously we'll get into like some of the special features in a minute, but I feel like, yeah, it's good to have kind of wrapped up the Hinchcliffe era now with the collection stuff and to be able to watch all of that in one go and have these very special features for all 3 seasons now. I think that's terrific. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, I agree. And so, Ryan, coming to you, we're saying that season 13 is a great season, but has it been ruined by AI?
That's tricky because a bit of context here. I have a 55-inch Panasonic OLED 4K TV.
Yeah, well, I also have a 55-inch TV. So
yeah, this could end up being dependent on how you view it, what your system is like, and so forth. I've watched all 5 stories, and again, this may be just me. I will say Planet of Evil, Pyramids of Mars, Brain of Morbius, and Seeds of Doom looked absolutely fine to me.
Yeah.
I will say those four looked fairly solid.
Yeah.
Terror of the Zygons, there are certain things there. And I was struggling. So I went back and I looked at the old DVD versions.
Okay.
And I noticed it wasn't completely perfect there too, as well. So I'm wondering if it's
Interesting.
not, maybe it's a fiction, not so much as AI. Maybe that's part of it, but also a DNR issue as well. Maybe there's some DNR issues going on with Terror of the Zygons. And I looked at it, it seems like they've been using the old DVD masters of Terror of the Zygons and using that as a basis for the remaster of this on Blu-ray.
Mhm.
At times, and I've noticed when looking at Terror of the Zygons Part 1, there are times where it did look a bit blurry-esque, kind of look a little bit sort of washed out. And I think with this AI upscaling, it's kind of somewhat exacerbated the already existing problems from
Yeah.
the DVD version. So
Yes.
like so it doesn't look as much blurry anymore. It just kind of makes it a bit sharper and waxy at the same time. It's
Yeah,
kind
it's
of
it's almost like it's sharpening it up too much in places where it shouldn't. It's kind of softened and smoothed and sharpened things that just didn't need to be done, I feel like.
yeah, and it's kind of highlighting what was already an existing problem on the DVD, and it
Yeah.
feels like it's like they were trying to. And who knows? Maybe they couldn't find any of the original tapes, and maybe this was the original tapes, and this was the best that they could do. Because I
Yeah.
looked at the end of Terror of the Zygods, the last film shots when they were all leaving, and that looks good on the TV, and yet for some reason the film sequences towards the beginning don't look good,
Yeah, I
and then
believe
again,
I believe there's something, I can't remember exactly what it is. There's something around episode one of Terror of the Zygons doesn't have as much existing, whether it's a film recording of it or some. There's definitely something
yeah,
missing that the episode one, there isn't a certain copy of episode one compared to two, three, and four. So that's one of the reasons why the AI like restoration, upscaling, whatever you want to call it, is more prevalent in episode one of Terror of the Zygons than the rest of it
yeah,
because they've tried to basically work with worse source material and match it to the better source material of two, three, and four
yeah,
using
and
AI.
again, matching it with the DVD again,
Yeah.
I noticed there were the problems with the whole DNR issues going on there, see with the DVD master. It seems like they took that, tried to upscale it through AI with this, and it's kind of made it look. It's just highlighted the problems that were already there with the DVD release, and so it isn't an absolute game breaker where it's like, oh, I can't watch this, but it's just like, oh, you kind of further highlighted a problem that was already there,
Yeah.
and it's kind of, and then we get to Android Invasion and all of the film sequences
Yeah.
in Android Invasion, and I will say that again, I looked at the old DVD footage and it looks very, very like a bit blurry and grainy, like heavily grainy, a lot
Yeah.
of grain filter going on. So again, that doesn't look great either. It seems like they tried to make it look less fuzzy and blurry, but at the same time, it's just kind of again overly sharpened and waxy, that
Yeah.
sort of look
Yeah.
with Android Invasion. And it's a shame because all the videotape sequences of Android look absolutely fine.
Mhm.
And I know that apparently they have used AI these past few sets, and I didn't really have much of a problem there with us because
Yeah.
well, again, this may be watching it from my 4K TV. It looked just as good as all the other sets, and I
Mm.
didn't necessarily have a problem with it. But for some reason, it seems like they were trying their hard to fix pre-existing problems, but all they've done is kind of further highlighted them to some degree. And
That's the
I'm
thing.
hoping that this isn't too much of an issue when it comes to future sets, but I'm not gonna lie. I commend them for trying. Maybe this was the best that they could do, trying to make the best out of a bad situation. But I don't know. At times, it just looked very weird.
Yeah, I think that it does what, especially now, because obviously everybody's talked about it, so we're all almost looking for it. I feel like when I was watching it, I was looking for, oh, where can I spot where they've used the AI filter? I'm like, on people's faces, particularly in Terror of the Zygons episode 1, like it's really noticeable the way it's just like softening and smoothing out all the different actors' faces, kind of completely unnecessarily. Like there's no point to do that. Like it just because I feel like AI is more and more a thing in life. You see it online all the time. Almost AI enhanced stuff is very recognizable now. So when you see it used in something like this, you can really see that it's AI because we all know what that looks like. It's not hard to spot like maybe it would have been a couple of years ago. So I don't know, Bill. Is this something that's bothered you as much as it? I mean, I can live with it, but I can definitely see the problems and see why people are really annoyed about it. I don't know. Where do you land on it?
So to be honest with you, I initially didn't know about it at all.
Okay.
Um, and I hadn't watched the box set yet, but
Yeah.
I saw a video that I think it was Pip Madley had put
Yeah.
on YouTube where it was sort of
Yeah.
comparing, and that was when I was like, oh, okay. So at first I was a bit like, what's this video? And then I watched it and I was like, oh, so they've used AI to like straighten Tom Baker's teeth,
Yeah.
to undirty his fingernails and
Yeah.
that kind of thing. And I kind of get it, but at the same time, I was a bit like, why are they doing this? So
It's
then,
unnecessary.
yeah, so then I thought, well, I'm gonna check out. I thought I'd check out as part of obviously getting through the box set.
Yeah.
I was wanting to listen to one of the commentaries that Tom Baker's done anyway for Android Invasion. So I thought I'd do that for just watch briefly like episodes 1 and 4. That's the ones that he's done. And I don't know if this is like I don't know if I haven't watched 2 and 3, so I can't say like whether this continues to be like an issue with them. But I think my main issue with the AI stuff, like it looked a bit too bright, I think, most of the time. I think it brightens things up a bit too much. And then also I
Mm.
think when you've especially got like as Ryan was saying, like the film scenes
Yeah.
where you've got people outside and they're not that close to the camera, but they're like close enough that you can see their faces, obviously. And it's especially notable when um they first step out of the TARDIS, like Tom and Sarah, and like bits of their faces suddenly go all weird and all like uncanny valley, and it's
Well,
just
yeah, it feels like whenever they're walking or moving about and so moving around, not in an extreme close up, but more, when they're just walking. I've noticed that sometimes their faces are almost shimmering a little bit, almost like a
yeah,
shimmer effect in Android Invasion. I didn't see this with Terror of the Zygons at all because again, and again, I think they were just using DVD masters, but trying to upscale that to one bit wonky degree. But with Android Invasion, I did notice, yeah, whenever they're walking around or just moving their heads about, it's just this weird shimmering effect, and it's just like,
mm.
what's going on here?
And I think it made their lips slightly out of sync with the dialogue at times as well. Or at least
Mm.
it looked weird when they were saying something, but then the lips weren't moving how I was supposed to.
Yeah.
It was weird, and it was just like I don't know because if they've been using them for the past few sets, then to be honest, I don't normally watch the episodes themselves because I've seen them all on DVD and iPlayer and everything 1,000 times anyway. But if they have used them on previous sets and it's never been an issue, then you kind of think, well, maybe the fact that this one is an issue, maybe because we don't know how long this one has been in the works for, maybe this was the
Mm.
first one they tried using AI for, and even they knew that it wasn't quite right. So then they kind of fixed it for ones that obviously were worked on afterwards, but obviously came before in terms of
Mm.
release order. Um, but yeah, I respect the effort of trying to use any kind of technology that they can have to further enhance and the picture, sound quality, and everything. I just think maybe AI, at least with these, especially with those film sequences, I don't think maybe that's probably not the right approach to take with them. Um, Unless, they can kind of avoid that kind of uncanny valley, like misshapen, weird
Yeah,
kind of
shimmering
base
effect.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
It
yeah, I agree.
it's very weird. Honestly, this kind of it just puts to mind the James Cameron film 4K remasters that have been going on. I mean,
Mhm.
because those had like very similar issues where certain film for 4K remasters, and these were all supervised by him, by the way. So there are times where it's a very mixed bag. Like his 4K remasters of um The Abyss and the first Terminator look absolutely fine. They look stunning. But then you have um Aliens, which was very wonky. But then you have stuff like Terminator 2 and True Lies, where it's just very, very sharpened and waxy looking, and
Yeah,
it looks really noticeable and bad,
yeah.
really. It just really reminds me of that at that time. I mean, although I would say it's nowhere near to that disastrous degree, but it does put that in mind, to be honest, when I was watching it a little bit. I mean, I suppose I can cope with it with Tear of the Zygons a little bit because
Mhm.
I'm aware, looking at the DVD masters, that it was kind of a problem there too. I know they were trying to fix it, but again, you just highlighted the problem. But yeah, with Android Invasion, all those film sequences looked weird, especially with the shimmering faces. It was getting really noticeable in that area. And who knows, maybe they'll offer replacement discs for that
I think
one.
it's pretty
Maybe who knows?
unlikely,
I
personally.
mean, only now they're starting to doing disc replacements for season 20 because I remember when season 20 came out, there was a lot of frame rate issues
Yeah, yeah.
going on with that, and not playing at the correct speed, and there's a bit of a shimmering stutter effect going on with a lot of the stories and collection in that set.
Mhm.
And only now that they seem to be developing disc replacements for that, and who knows, maybe they'll fix the issues with this. Maybe they'll do disc replacements for Android Invasion, and maybe Tether Zygons. I don't know. I mean, we'll just have to wait and see. I mean, I wouldn't mind disc replacements personally, but it's just depending if they have, even if they're bothered to do it, really.
Yeah, I personally think it's unlikely because essentially the AI is a creative choice rather than an issue with the box set. Like, sure, we can say we dislike it, but that's a creative choice they've decided to make during the restoration of the episode rather than like a glitch with the frame rate or incorrect audio on some previous releases that got replacement discs and stuff like that. That's the reason for me that I think it's unlikely because it's almost they would have to do a completely new restoration of those two stories, which presumably would cost a lot of money. And even then, will the fans necessarily be happy with it? Like, what class is as fixed if you're replacing something that's broken? I think that's why my perspective is that nothing will happen with this box set, and they'll just take it on board for future box sets, and we'll see less heavy use of AI in the future because there's been such a bad reaction to this. But yeah, I mean, so I think if anybody's listening and they're particularly offended by the Terror of the Zygons or Android Invasion, then hold on to your DVDs because I personally just don't think they're going to replace them.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird because, again, I mean, Tale of the Zygons, I can live with it. I mean, as I said, I've already said my piece when comparing the DVDs and that. As I can cope with it. Android Invasion, I'm not going to lie, it does look very distracting at times with
Well,
the film
maybe at
sequence
least
Android.
maybe the picture will distract you from how poor the plot is. You won't be thinking about that anymore. You'll just be thinking how bad the picture looks.
Yeah, true. That is true. I mean, that was always the weakest story for me. But yeah, it's weird why it's specifically, well, not so much Tales of Zygons, but mostly Android Invasion. But yeah, all the other stories, it looks absolutely fine on my 4K TV. Like as I said, Planet of Evil, Pyramids of Mars, Brain and Morbius Seeds of Doom, they all look pretty good on my TV. So I don't know why it's nowhere near as bad. It's okay there, but yet for some reason with these two stories, I don't know why.
Yeah, I mean, maybe we'll get some sort of explanation in the future. I've sort of been vaguely keeping an eye on the forums and stuff to see if anybody who works on the releases has put anything about it, but I haven't seen much from anybody. I know Peter Crocker put a little bit on X, I think, but not really addressing anything. So we will see what the future holds for Doctor Who and AI. Hopefully they won't destroy future box sets as well, but we shall see what that comes to. So let's move on to some of the special features of this box set, which I think are probably where we can talk more positively about the box set in general. So we'll start with the Return to 13 feature, which is essentially Toby Hadoke and Philip Hinchcliffe going around some of the locations of some of the stories where there are locations to go to, and then also just popping to other people's houses where there isn't locations to go to. So Bill, what did you enjoy this feature? Was it a fun little tour around season 13 and its locations?
Yeah, it was all right. It wasn't really it wasn't my sort of favorite special feature, and it wasn't really one that I think was like a real standout as such. But then I suppose, to be fair, it's just as you say, it's literally just them going to different places, talking a bit about the season, and that's basically it for however long it is. And it serves fine in that regard, so I can't really complain about it. I think it's completely fine. It's just not one of the most. It's not the standout of this
Sure.
box set, and I think there's definitely special features I would take over it. But again, we've had a few things like this at this point with the collection sets, so it's kind of like, whilst it's not my favorite, I don't really sort of it doesn't like it doesn't annoy me in a way that a certain other special feature does, which is the escape rooms.
Indeed.
Um,
Yes. Yes.
yeah,
So we could certainly get rid of the escape rooms, but no, I would agree. Let's keep these features. Yeah, I think it's always fun to visit locations. As you say, we've definitely done it in season 8. I think season 10 maybe as well. Do we know season 7? I can't remember. I honestly lose track. I mean, there's so much Pertwee set on Earth. They probably did a lot of location features for those. So yeah, no, I do tend to agree. Though I think I did enjoy the little Sutek moment. That was particularly fun.
Yeah.
Getting the mask on and repeating the voice and everything, and especially having being able to tie in the fact he was in series 14 as well, and that recent opportunity. I thought that was really nice. So Ryan, what did you take from this documentary?
I thought it was enjoyable. Again, not one of the best, but I definitely still had a fun time with it. It was nice to kind of reminisce about season 13, and as they're doing all the different things, like showing a restored Scarrison head and
Yes,
like all
yeah,
restored, and that looked pretty cool. The actual crinoid pod as well was
yeah,
also good, and yeah, just seeing Gabriel Wolf as Sutek was also really good. I think that was easily the highlight for me, was seeing Gabriel Wolf and him talk about his experiences
yeah,
and actually putting the mask on. It was all good, um and yeah, and it was nice how they tied that, as said, how they tied it into series 14 ahead of his return there, and yeah, even though he was turned into a big CGI monster, at least it's his voice, it's the same personality and everything, which really helped it,
yeah,
really. So that was also really good. And also Sadie Miller, Elizabeth
yes,
Sladen's daughter,
yeah.
coming back. That was also really nice to see. So
Mm.
yeah, it was basically a nice reminiscence documentary about looking back at the good times of season 13. Again, it's not one of the best, but I still had a fun time with it nonetheless.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also realised, even somehow I didn't know this until now, that the main location for Terror of the Zygons is about 45 minutes from where I live. So I should probably go and visit that. The whole pub and that little village and stuff, that's really quite close to where I live. So I need to go and do that. Maybe like next spring or something when it's a bit warmer. But yeah, I was like, oh wait, that's right near where I live. So yeah, the things you learn that I just clearly never looked up the locations of Terror of the Zygons. So yeah, that was quite fun. So yeah, I do tend to agree that it's it's not providing necessarily anything groundbreaking or new that we didn't already know, and it's not groundbreaking in its style, but I always do think it's really cool to see the locations of classic Doctor Who again in the present day and seeing how they look now. I always just find that personally very interesting. So and it's really well put together feature with all the drone shots and stuff they've got in there. I think that also is just kind of adds to the production value of it and makes it look really impressive as a documentary as well. So I can certainly appreciate that. And obviously Toby Haydock is a massive Doctor Who fan, so he's always a great guy to have as a I think he's a really good presenter, and sort of host that documentary really as well. So yeah, I think it's definitely worth a watch. It's not something that I particularly would seek out to watch again, apart from if I was doing a proper rewatch of everything and all the features, rather than, there's other documentaries I would specifically go back and just watch again, but probably not that one. But yeah, it's still definitely worth a watch. So we'll come on next to the Tom Talk season 13 feature, which I managed to identify was actually filmed in 2021, so it's quite an old documentary in some ways, but obviously they've been holding it back to release on this set. I mean, these are kind of very... They're just Tom Baker being Tom Baker, basically, for part of 35 minutes. I mean, it's I think I've said it before, but it is fascinating to see on these releases, because you end up with interviews with Tom Baker that are about 20 years apart on the same box set, and just seeing how like different a character and a person he is across all that time is just really fascinating. Like, in the older interviews, he's much more kind of trying to make everybody laugh and kind of, almost make stuff sound funnier than it is and not necessarily give away all the truth. Whereas, like in this feature, he's kind of being quite, for him, I feel like, being quite vulnerable and basically saying, like, he's scared of dying and everything. Like, it all got quite serious at one point. So, I don't know. Ryan, obviously, I think Tom's one of your favourite doctors. So do you always enjoy watching Tom just chat about anything, basically?
Yeah, it's always a joy. I mean, yes, it is Tom being Tom and just ramble about anything you want. But when it's Tom Baker talking, you just can't help but be invested, really.
Yeah.
And just hearing all of these stories, like meeting with the Gentry, and then talking about how he was kind of like a sin inventor, and talking about doing sins, thinking about murdering someone, and then how it's like, why are you looking at me weird? It's like, I'm wondering what it would be like to murder you right now. And all that. And just all these ramblings going on, and him saying how he wasn't really impressed by pyramids, but yet he still had a good time in Egypt. And how he lived in Paris for like 3 to 4 years, and how he used to go to pubs, but yet doesn't fancy them anymore, and how he's kind of, just being kind of vulnerable, how he doesn't maintain friendships for that long, and how he sometimes, always tries to make sure that he stays fit, because, as I said, he's opening up about fear of dying and everything. And I always find these talks fascinating, how he does it, because it does leave you wondering if, like, is that the whole truth, or is there something going on behind it? Just the way how he's presented it, it does make you invested, which is, I think, one of Tom's greatest strengths. He's always has that sort of boggle-eyed amusement about him. That's always, again, he's just like, oh, what have we here? And all that sort of, that mad energy that he still has, and even at his age, and it's amazing just how he does it. And honestly, I know saying that it's just Tom rambling, but honestly, I take that any day. Like, honestly, him and Peter Capaldi are my joint favorite doctors ever, so I can't begrudge him for basically giving us half an hour of just Tom being Tom across these sets. And if season 60, because obviously that's going to be the last of these Blu-ray collections with Tom, if that's going to be his last one of the Tom Talks, I am going to miss it, honestly, when we do get to the last one.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'll be intrigued whether they choose to do some more. I mean, I guess they've done so much stuff with Tom Baker, haven't they? But they haven't done a sort of tribute documentary to Tom Baker, I suppose. But obviously, he hasn't died, so you feel like that's normally when they do those kind of things. So they've only got one more box set to do something like that if they want to. But then also, they probably feel like they've interviewed him and talked about him so much, and we all know so much about Tom that you don't really need another hour and a half documentary about his life because we all kind of know about it. So I don't know. We'll see. Bill, was there anything else you took away from this? Little chit chat from Tom Baker.
No, just that it was another like I suppose just fun special feature. I think that's the best
Yep.
way to describe it. Like it's not essential viewing, but it's just a nice thing to have, and it's just nice to just hear Tom Baker just talking, and just even if it is like the most random subjects and stuff,
Brilliant.
and some of the questions you can tell they're really stretching to try and
Yeah,
make it relevant to the season. But
absolutely.
I kind of liked that anyway because that's kind of like it's obvious that they're trying to make it a bit kind of humorous, I suppose, in terms of that. And Tom is just a delight to watch. So yeah, I'm always kind of down for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I agree. Cool. Well, let's move on to what I feel like is probably the highlight documentary of this box set, which is the Life of Ian Marter, Worlds Within the Life of Ian Marter. Telling the story of someone who I definitely felt like I learned a lot from this documentary. Obviously, he died in 1986, I think it was, certainly in the late 80s. And so, he hasn't been around Doctor Who for a very, very long time to kind of be in any other documentaries or talk about being on the show or anything like that. And so to hear all about his life, I found absolutely fascinating. So, Bill, did you think this was probably the highlight of the box set for you?
Yeah, I think it was kind of like, again, it's kind of to expect at this point these kind of longer documentaries about a certain individual involved in each season. I think I've always come to quite like them
Yeah,
because they're always very much kind of not afraid to interview family and personal friends and to where there's kind of like when there's talk of hardships and tragedies and stuff like that, they will just address it. They're not going to shy away from that, and I think that's really commendable. And as long as the family and friends all feel comfortable talking about that, which they always seem to be, then I think that's really good. It's just, yeah, it's just as you say, it's Ian Marter is just one of those people that we younger fans especially just don't know much about
yeah,
because he died so tragically young. And so it was just really fascinating to find out more about him and to find out about his life, his struggles with his diabetes and everything, and how he'd even been in hospital right before he, got the job to play Harry Sullivan.
yeah,
And yeah, just I suppose I think, and I also quite like the bit when Tom Baker was talking about the fact that he feels that the writers basically wasted Ian Martin because I do get the sense that they wasted him, and that actually, as much as I like the Fourth Doctor and Sarah Jane together as just a TARDIS duo, I wouldn't have minded more of Harry because
yeah,
he was it was clear that he was bringing something, I suppose, mainly comic relief, but there was also like a genuine kind of there was something there with him and with the Fourth Doctor and Sarah that unfortunately I don't think they really put as much effort in as they probably could have. And so that makes obviously the fact that he died so young so even more tragic because it means that, there's been obviously I know they've since recast Harry for Big Finish, and I think Christopher Nail has done a good job of that. But it does mean that for quite a while there wasn't many stories you could really tell for Harry because Ian Mott had passed away, and so it was just yeah, it's just a shame I think that he died as young as he did, and
yeah,
in the circumstances that he did. Because I definitely think he had more to give, and I'm very kind of like intrigued to like try and um search for that book that he wrote, for Harry, where it was his own brand new kind of original story
yeah,
rather than just a Target novelization, and see what that was like, and to kind of yeah, you get the sense that maybe, there was maybe his calling was being a script writer, or at least a writer more than being an actor or anything else. And yeah, I think it's just a shame, I think, whenever someone as talented as that just passes away so young and so tragically.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And I think they did a great job of kind of covering all the different aspects of his life, from his early theatre stuff through the TV, then, as you say, the books and writing for Doctor Who, and kind of uh, covering all of that against the backdrop of his health issues, and then moving to New Zealand, I think it was, when his marriage broke down, and that sort of that aspect of it as well, and then obviously before dying quite young as well. I think it was great how they got that little myth makers thing with Nick Briggs as well, that they were able to get in there. The fact that like 3 years before he died, he was being interviewed about Doctor Who in this fun little feature where he wanted to go and pretend it was like a story or something. I thought that was just a great insight to him as a person. And that was a really great use of the sort of archive footage that they have access to. And yeah, just seeing and just hearing about him as a person, how kind of he was clearly a very deep thinker. He kind of had a lot of thoughts on the world and life and all of that, which is just really interesting, because he's a character that obviously isn't a massive part of Doctor Who. He's only really in one season and a bit, but he was part of that kind of glory years of Tom Baker in a sense, and actually is was a good companion, even if a little bit underused at times. And so yeah, I found it really interesting to hear all of this that I didn't really know. So Ryan, what did you take the most from this documentary?
Yeah, this was definitely the highlight of the box set for me. It definitely told us basically the story of this man whose life um it just paints a very picture of the life of this man who was just a very complex and lived a quite difficult life. It always seemed like it's how they worded it, just seemed like he never truly felt really comfortable in his own skin, basically. He was very tormented by himself, his own sexuality, his own personality, and he never really kind of got to grips with himself, while also having real serious health issues when tackling what they described as brittle diabetes, basically. And it was quite difficult to manage at times. And whenever he would sometimes go into hypo, and how that was difficult, and he was kind of put on antidepressants and having to take injections. It was quite a difficult life, basically, for him. And yet he was always wanting to push himself. He was always trying to keep that aside, always trying to look ahead and do, whether it was performing or writing. And it was interesting also to hear, like, as I said, he did his own novel for Harry, his own companion novel, Harry Sullivan's War, which that was it. And then how he was going to work with Tom on a little Doctor Who movie with Vincent Price and Twiggy and Scratch Man, which eventually got turned into a novel a few years ago. And yeah, it was really fascinating because Harry as a character, I always did feel like was very underutilized. I mean, he definitely had his great moments. I felt like he's sort of old-fashioned charm, sensibilities, combined with Sarah Jane's more progressive, going straight ahead, no problem attitude. It was kind of a good sort of a fun little counterbalance with each other, as he was always trying to be there to be the protector of Sarah Jane, even though she says she's perfectly capable of looking after herself. And then their dynamic with Tom Baker's Doctor, it was a fun dynamic. And yeah, just hearing Tom said he was a man who had a lot to give, and they failed him. They failed him, and he was right there, because as it went on, he kind of mattered less and less, basically, because obviously it was quite clear that he was meant to be sort of the action star, and the Doctor was originally meant to be an older person, but of course Tom was there, and he could easily do all the stunts himself, and so they felt Harry was useless, and so they wrote him out. And again, I'm, they could have kept him around. They could have maybe have him go on a bit of a character arc on his own. Maybe um have him sort of take over a little bit, stories a bit over from Sarah Jane, and maybe delve more into, you know, sort of maybe his fears and so on. But nope, they just didn't do that. It's a real shame. And such this vibrant, dynamic energy from like a TARDIS trio, for me, it wasn't really seen again until probably the Matt Smith era when he had Amy and Rory. It's yeah, they have such a really good, thoughtful um actor that was seemed really passionate about it, and they just didn't really utilize him really that well, which is a real shame. And so yeah, this was a really good documentary. I thought it did painted a picture of this very quite tortured, complex person who clearly had could do so much more and could go on to do so many things, but it was just all tragically cut short.
Yeah, exactly. I think that kind of sums it up really. Yeah, I think it was a really well put together documentary. They were able to interview all the kind of important people. I felt like it was really great to have like his widow and children, and being able to hear from all of that sort of more personal family perspective, rather than just hearing from colleagues on Doctor Who or in the theatre or whatever, which kind of means they can really paint both sides of that, and then obviously culminating in covering his death at the end of the documentary as well. I felt that, yeah, it was a really, really well put together documentary. I think one of definitely the highlight of this box set, and one of those, just as we've said, was just consistently strong documentaries that Chris Chapman produces. Like these, there's been so many of these now, with the Elizabeth Sladen one, or the Graham Williams one, or the John Nathan Turner. There's so many different ones like this that have covered these kind of figures, some more well known like Elizabeth Sladen, some slightly less known like Ian Marter, and just learning more about them I think is always fascinating. So it's really, really great to have these and kind of have them as the definitive sort of documentary about this person's life, really, because I think that's what this is for Ian Marter now. Like, that's, if you want to know more about him as a person or refer to something, you watch this documentary. It's as simple as that. So yeah, I think it's a real highlight. Yeah. So we'll move on to the next new feature, which is our favourite In Conversation interviews with Matthew Sweet. We've of course had many an In Conversation over the collection range, even into Blake 7 as well. With Graham Harper, of course, this time round, a pretty famous Doctor Who director of both the classic and the new series. I think, is he still the only person to direct classic and new Doctor Who, or am I forgetting someone else who's done it since then?
I think he's probably the only one.
I think so. Yeah, I know we've had a couple of writers that have crossed over, but I don't think we've had any other directors. And obviously they got him back early. He did the side, I think both Sidemen stories in series 2. He certainly did Army of Ghosts and Doomsday. I think he did the other one as well. And then he did Utopia, and did he do the series 3 finale as well, or was it just Utopia? I can't remember.
I think he did 42 and Utopia, and I think he did a tiny bit of Last of the Time Lords, but only a tiny bit of that.
And he did the series 4 finale, I feel like.
Yeah, he did. I think he did Planet of the Ood and Turn Left. And the Stolen Earth and Journey's End. And I think he might have done Unicorn and the Wasp as well. I don't know. I might be misremembering that one. And then he finally did Waters of Mars.
Did he do Waters of Mars? I thought it was Planet. Was it not Planet of Dead that he did?
No, it was Waters of Mars. He did. That was his last one.
That's a good way to go out, to be fair. Like, if you want a good story to go out on, not out on a whimper, or Journey's End, which is also not the strongest of stories. But obviously he'd also did the Caves of Androzani, so he did like some of the best of classic and of new Doctor Who. And so it was fascinating to hear from him for, I think it's been about an hour and 20 minutes, him just chatting through his life, where he'd come from. And I kind of feel like they hit on the main thing of, he was almost ahead of his time when he was trying to do Doctor Who and TV directing in the 1980s, that he was kind of trying to direct it like a single camera drama of today, and trying to do that in the 80s with the multi-camera setup. And I mean, obviously Caves of Androzani is brilliant, and I think the direction is definitely a big part of that. But then I think that probably helped him seamlessly move into doing new Doctor Who as well. So yeah, it was a really, really interesting one. I don't know, Bill, what did you find most interesting from this documentary?
I think it was quite interesting hearing about his beginnings as like a child actor.
I didn't know nothing about that.
Yeah, it was really interesting hearing about, I think, didn't he say something like he was involved with ITV's very first like night of transmission where he did one of their dramas for that first night, and
Yeah,
then he did quite a few like I think it was mainly like classic kind of dramas for a little while.
yeah,
Um, which probably like sadly completely gone, I suspect, in the
yeah,
archives now, like
yeah.
completely
Yeah,
not
there's
there.
probably not a single thing that exists of him actually acting.
Yeah. But it was really interesting to hear about that and how things worked back then, and
Mm,
how he was literally just asked one day at school, like, would you like to? I mean, that kind of thing just wouldn't happen now, but it's
yeah,
really mad to think that once upon a time, you would get a call from your headmaster saying, ITV wants to use you for this new thing. Um, it's just mental to think that was ever like a thing now. And it was just interesting to hear about his career and his progression, I think, because obviously he was a child actor, as I say, for a little while, and then
yeah,
I think just fell out of that, and then decided to be um basically like a runner sort of thing for a little while, and then
Yeah.
he gradually worked up to being like a director, and it was just fascinating to hear that kind of process, and just to just to hear about kind of how his career went, and he's quite many kind of stuff to do with like Doctor Who, besides the stuff that he's directed, like the fact that he was there as part of the production of Power of the Daleks, and I'm sure he probably said a few others later on, and obviously he was part of the Tom Baker era, often working
yeah.
with Douglas Camfield as like his assistant, and how Douglas Camfield was basically like one of his mentors, and how
Mm,
tragic he found it when, again, he passed away quite young as well.
yeah,
And it was just a really good interview, I think. I really enjoyed that. And there was like a decent. I did feel like towards the end, I think maybe Matthew Sweet tried to touch a bit too much on Doctor Who as opposed to just his whole kind
yeah.
of career as a whole. But
Mm,
I still felt that for the most part it was handled quite well, because obviously, first and primarily, as Doctor Who fans, anyone that's involved in the show, we primarily want them to talk about the show. But I
yeah.
think it's interesting to hear about what they've also done, what they did before and
Mm.
afterwards, and what their thoughts on all of their career kind of is. I think that's always very interesting. So it was good to just to get quite a good view of how his career's gone and kind of how he thinks of it all.
Yeah, absolutely. And I thought it was quite interesting that Matthew Sweet was just gently trying to get him to open up on the problems of series one, the production of series one of Doctor Who. I thought at one point where he was like, did Russell and Phil come and try and get you in as your, a safe pair of hands that knows Doctor Who and would be able to come and help with it after a difficult production of the first season? I could tell he was just subtly trying to get Graham to start talking about, Keith Barrack and the Flaming Sofa, but I mean, Graham's professional. He obviously wasn't going to do that. But I just found that quite interesting, and also the fact that he was a driving instructor for a year, just randomly as well, and then he was working with people who were learning to drive while they were making movies, basically, and then he went and met Stanley Kubrick just randomly out of nowhere, and that got him back into wanting to do it. I thought that's just a great story. Like, it's one of those things you're never really going to hear anywhere else about this person, and actually just adds that much more to like just knowing him as a person. I think that's just a really interesting aspect of it. So I don't know, Ryan, was there anything else interesting you took from this documentary?
Yeah, it was just really interesting just to see like how it said he was he just got randomly picked to be in this production as a child at school, and how there was the school inspector that discovered this and saying that he must if he wants to continue this, he has to go to this drama school. If he can't do this thing or that, and these parents basically threw this inspector out because they wouldn't had enough of they had enough of it. And
Yeah.
yeah, he's someone who I've always been very fascinated with Graham Ham, because he was always, you could tell he was always wanted to make dynamic filmmaking, bring that to TV. He was always wanting to be on the move with that,
Yeah.
always um to really capture the audience imagination through his directing. And he's mentioned like how Douglas Camfield, Sean Sutton, and even Barry Letts were like his mentors and helped build him to be the person he is today. And yeah, it's always when he talks about doing Case of Androzani, he was always on the floor checking everything instead of just being up in the gallery as directors would be. And yeah, you can tell he was really trying to bring the best out of filmmaking. I think he's also mentioned another one as well as Stanley Kubrick. It was also Martin Campbell as well, who was also famous for going on to doing Mask of Zorro, GoldenEye, Casino Royale, and so forth. That he's always told him to keep at times keep it still to really engage the audience, and you can tell it's really helped him as he did his 2 stories of Classic Who and his good number of stories in the beginning of Modern Doctor, and then of course he directed one of the best episodes of Inside Number 9 with the Devil of Christmas.
Yes,
and
I forgot
he's
about that.
also
Yes, that
touched
as well.
upon in this, and I always found that to be one of the best episodes of Inside Number 9. And when I found out that it was Graham Harman director, like, that's why it's kind of done in this interesting sort of way. And in to talk about his experience with Reece Shearsmith and Steve Pemberton and how he said they captured what they were writing on the page. It was really interesting. So yeah, I definitely feel like this was one of those better, one of those good in conversations. And of course, Matthew Sweet knows how to interview anyone like the back of his hand.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I found it a really fascinating insight into him. And just the other day I was watching Utopia. I'm watching through series 3, and I was watching Utopia, and I thought, and I sort of was, because I knew he directed it, I was like watching it with his, like, knowing what his kind of vision for TV making is, and watching where, like, how much the camera moves around, and then actually it's only in those very, like, critical moments where he keeps the camera still because it's such a big moment, and actually using the camera in that way, which, yeah, it was just really interesting to hear that and then kind of see it in action as well in an episode like Utopia, which it's obviously a very good episode Doctor as well, which does help. But yeah, so that probably covers off that interview. I think that's probably my second favourite thing, I would say, after the Ian Marter documentary. I think that's probably my second favourite thing on the box set. It's definitely worth a watch. I would say it's a really interesting insight into him as, yeah, he's just quite an interesting person, I think, to be honest. Sometimes some people are a bit more interesting, some people are a bit less interesting. And I think he's definitely got that. So we'll just cover off some of the other little small bits of extras that were on the box set. Obviously, you briefly mentioned, I think, Bill, the escape room on this box set. I watched half of it and gave up because I've seen it like 4 times over now. Like, if that was the first one I was watching, I think I probably would have reasonably enjoyed it because it's quite a good pairing of Toby Haydock, Michael E. Bryan, and what's his name? I can't remember his name. Plays Adric. Matthew Waterhouse. Wow. We're terrible Doctor Who fans. How do we all forget Matthew Waterhouse? Sorry, Matthew. He's probably a bigger Doctor Who fan than we are. But yeah, they're quite a good pairing. That was quite good. But I did just get to the point where, I don't know, have either of you watched any of this feature on this box set?
I watched the first probably 10 minutes and then just fast forward the rest of it because, as you say, I enjoyed the team dynamic, but apart from that, it's the same escape room I've seen 4 times now.
Yeah,
it's not even like tailored to in a different way to each Doctor or anything. It's all just the same challenges again and again.
Yeah,
and there's only so many times you can really watch that and find
and just
anything.
get frustrated at that stupid button pressing game for the different coloured lights they have to swap over. Like, I watched them spend about 20 minutes trying to do that, and at that point I was like, no, I can't watch this anymore. This is just...
Yeah, even fast forwarding it on like the highest setting, it seems to take forever with some bits. Like, it was just awful.
Yeah, so it's a real shame because, like, I like them trying to do different and creative features, and I think one of these, kind of like a one-off of these, would have been actually quite fun. If they picked the right pairing as a one-off, it would have been good fun, and I would have gone, yeah, that was worth it. Or if they made them substantially different with every single one in terms of what the escape room was like, so you're, as the audience, watching it not knowing what all the answers are to all of the challenges, so it's actually a bit more interesting. But the fact that they just repeated the same thing, what is presumably going to be 7 times, because we presumably are still going to get a 3rd Doctor edition on season 11, a 5th Doctor edition on season 21. Oh no, we got it in season 20, didn't we? We had a 5th Doctor one, so maybe we'll get a 6th Doctor one on season 21, and a 2nd Doctor one. I don't think we've done a 2nd Doctor one yet, have we? No. So we've presumably got one of those on season 4 or 5 to come. So, like, yeah, we've had 4 out of the 7, or maybe they've done it one with Paul McGann. I don't know. I haven't watched the I need to watch that montage a bit more closely to see what the different pairings are, because there is a montage at the start which I think pretty much shows what they all are, but I just wasn't caring enough to actually do that. So anyway, it's there. If you haven't seen any of them, you might enjoy it. If you've seen the previous 3, you know what to expect. I think that's the fairest thing you can say about those. And I'm not sure that I may ever come back and properly watch those in full again, because I just don't feel the need. So Behind the Sofa is also back on this box set. I must confess, I've watched none of them. Have either of you watched any of Behind the Sofa on this box set?
No, because I just feel like once you've seen a few, you pretty much seen them all, basically.
Yeah. I think I've only seen 2, maybe at most.
Any good pairings? Any good selections worth mentioning?
There's an interesting pairing where they've got Maureen O'Brien with Sophie Aldred. That was kind of a pairing that I wasn't expecting.
Mhm.
That was kind of nice, but yeah, I mean, it's Doctor Who Gogglebox. I mean, you can't really. I mean, not that it's a bad thing. Like I always enjoy Behind the Sofa, but
Mm.
how many times can you say that you enjoyed someone
Same thing,
reacting to an episode?
Yeah, it's fair enough. It's fair enough. And I certainly will down the line in my life watch all of these Behind the Sofas. When I get around to watching the box sets through properly again in the future and all that, then I'll watch each Behind the Sofa with the episodes. So it's not the sort of feature that I feel like I need to go and watch all of to then talk about the box set, because, as you say, Bill, we kind of know what we're expecting, and that's fine. That's fine, I think. One other thing that I think, Bill, you mentioned earlier was you listened to the audio commentaries on the Android Invasion, I think it was, which was Toby Hadoke and Tom Baker doing some new commentaries. Did you enjoy those? Were they particularly good or not?
No, they were all right. I think it was again just Tom being Tom. I think for quite a bit of it, and then kind of Toby reminding him a lot of how the Android Invasion went, and obviously Tom has probably forgotten a lot of the production, and then kind of talking about some of the guest actors. There was Milton Johns, I think his name is.
He's
There
been
was a
here
mention of
loads.
him.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, it's kind of interesting because there was a particular bit where Tom was quite complimentary of John Levine as Sergeant Benton, and obviously we know that like John Levine didn't have the happiest time working on the Fourth Doctor like stories, not because he didn't like Tom Baker, but because he just felt like he was kind of a bit redundant by that point.
Yeah.
So I guess that was kind of nice to hear.
Mm.
But yeah, they were just. It's again, it's hard to say because it's just a commentary and it's a nice thing to have. But again, it's just like it's a little bit extra, I suppose, just like the Behind the Sofas. Which is nice to have, but yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
And one thing I will say, there was also a feature about how they made the new Scarrison
Yes, I was
effect.
going to mention that. Yeah.
And that was interesting. How they managed to try to improve the Scarrison effect, because they thought because I think they talked about how, especially by part 4, it didn't look that good. How they tried to do on videotape with the puppet, and they tried to do it at the correct speed, and it definitely, I admire them for trying to keep close to the original like prop of the Scarrison, and trying to get a mold, trying to combine all the, because there was like a few different ones, and they basically did a scan and sort of combined all of them to create like a full-on proper Scarrison head puppet. And it very interesting to see how it was interesting how they did that. And I was watching it with Ted the Zygons, and it does look a bit better than the original one. It still doesn't look the best, and at times you're just thinking you didn't really need to do this, but at the same time I admired them for putting the effort in and for trying to improve it and give us a new Scarrison head puppet. So I thought it was really interesting how they tried to do all that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and I think it's interesting to note that they have the original film footage without the Scarrison in, that they could lay the Scarrison onto. I thought that was quite interesting. I didn't realise that. And then having to like run the camera at certain frame rates to try and get it to match the speed and the movement. I thought that was all really interesting, and how they tried to do that. As you say, Ryan, it kind of did feel like, was this really necessary? It was like, I don't know, maybe 10 seconds of footage that didn't really need fixing. But I mean, I've got no problem with them doing it. And yeah, it was quite an interesting little feature as well, just covering off all the background to that as well. So, Bill, is there anything else in this box set you wanted to mention? I think we've covered all the main stuff, but was there anything else you've watched that you thought was interesting?
Um, I don't think there's anything, certainly nothing new
Sure.
that I can think of.
Yeah.
I did like check out some brief archive bits just out of curiosity, and there was a weird bit with Bruce Forsyth doing a weird Star Trek thing, but with a Cyberman,
Oh,
and
right.
that was
Okay.
really weird.
I need to watch that.
Um,
What disc is that on?
ah, God, I can't remember now, but it's like I think it's I can't what what was the I know he presented a lot of stuff, but what was one in the 70s that he
Generation
presented?
Game? Was it that one?
That was it. That
Yeah.
was it. Generation Game.
Yeah.
And it was a clip from that, and you could
Okay.
tell that he was kind of trying to having to coax because the other actors in it were very awkward, very nervous, and very shy about it all.
Yes.
And he was trying to coax them into saying their lines and that kind of
Right.
thing.
Fun.
So
Okay.
it exists. It was all right, I guess.
Yeah. Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, very good. Very good. And Ryan, anything else you wanted to mention?
Nothing really. What you mentioned there about this all starting in Command Doctor, it just reminds me of that bit of I don't know if you're watching, but back um in Top Gear, they did this special little thing where there's all these different like sci-fi aliens who wanted to drive the cars to this
Mhm.
special lab test, and they even had Colin Baker come back as the doctor for it to drive in one of the cars, and the winner was a Cyberman. It ended up being a
Right.
Cyberman who
Yeah.
won the car
Great.
race, and they handed him a trophy, and they said, "Do you want to say anything?" And the Cyberman just looks at just nothing, just not saying anything. Yeah, it
So
just
good.
reminds me of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. 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 No, I get it. I'm just having a look at a little photo there. Yeah. Well, that I haven't seen that clip for a very, very long time. I'll have to go and find that. But yeah, that's a funny one. Well, just quickly before we end, we should all do our usual discussion of what's going to be the next box set. I mean, I feel like there's kind of only one answer to this. Well,
Yeah.
there's technically lots of answers, but I think would we all agree season 21 is the
Yeah,
answer?
yeah, I
Yeah.
think that one
We had a
is.
Pertwee as the last box set, so I don't think it's going to be season 11, and we can't have season
No.
16 because we just had a Tom. So I think, and it's not going to be a black and white one. We know they're leaving those at the end. So unless they shock us and release a black and white box set, I think we can pretty safely say season 21 is next.
Plus there
Yeah,
was that
definitely.
filming as well. So yeah,
Yeah,
I think it is 21.
yeah, 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 yeah.
And it's so weird that we practically only have nine sets left of this collection. We're definitely nearing the end, certainly. And
Well,
I mean, again, I think
we need to get to series one, then we can do a in conversation with Keith Boak. That's what we all want to see.
oh, the infamous Keith Boak and all the magazine. Elaborate on those Dot Two magazine interviews where Russell said, "Yes, we could have yes, Keith could have done this better, but none of us told him to because we were just as much in the dark as he was, and all that." I'm like, what do you mean? What went on? I'm wondering if they'll even do that, or would they even do interviews like that, especially if it's for the modern era? Would they even bother to do modern era collection sets?
I mean, I hope so. And I mean, I'd like to think that hopefully Russell will be gone by the time that they release that box set. And so hopefully they can talk a little bit more candidly about Series 1. Russell probably won't, but if they can get some other crew on from Series 1, like I feel like Chris Chapman would try and do a proper documentary that doesn't like avoid some of the problems of production of Series 1. So, I mean, whether they can get Keith Barrett to say anything, I think it's probably unlikely. But yeah, it could be fascinating.
Yeah. I'd be shocked to have it. I'd be really shocked if Matthew Sweetman just to interview Christopher Eccleston at all. But then again, would he be willing to do something for the BBC after he said I mean, Chris Eccleston has gone on record saying he would never work with the BBC ever again. And
Yeah. Yeah.
After what happened, I mean, he infamously said, my relationship with the main executives broke down during the first block and never recovered. So,
Yeah, indeed.
yeah.
So
I mean,
season 21 next then. We're ready for season 21 to come.
yeah. Although I'd be surprised if they shock us with a Wilderness Years box set.
It's always possible. It's always possible.
Yeah, I'm wondering. I mean, we all know the Paul McGann thing will definitely be part of it, but I'm curious what else they're going to put on that set. What lots of other things they can get from between 1990 and 2004 that they could put in there.
Well, maybe next year, while we've got nothing to talk about before the new episode, we'll do a podcast just predicting what's going to be on the Wilderness Years box set before it actually happens, and then we can look at how wrong we are once they announce it in April next year or something. I don't know. I mean, realistically, the next box set will probably be out in the spring, won't it? We'll probably have 6 months to wait, but that's okay. That's okay. So overall, would you guys say this was a strong box set to be entered into the collection? One of the better ones? Not so good? Where does it kind of sit more generally with the other collection box sets we've seen?
I think it's definitely been a good set. I mean, yes, I know we talked about some of the AI issues with some of Terror of the Zygons, especially Android Invasion, but it hasn't been an absolute deal breaker. It hasn't ruined the box set for me. I still think it's definitely worth a purchase. Yes, some things, as I said, could have been done a little bit better, especially with, as I said, with the whole AI stuff. But it's still a solid box set, and hopefully they'll take some of this feedback on board and try and keep things pretty much positive for the remainder of the box sets to come. I mean, hopefully we don't get any more incredibly sharp and waxy images for the black and white seasons. Hopefully not.
Yes, indeed. Absolutely. And Bill, a strong box set for you?
Yeah, I mean, I would say it was kind of probably in the middle, I guess, not because it was necessarily a bad box set, but I think there's been ones that have even gone even further with like the special features and general kind of stuff going and more kind of stuff to say, I think, because again, the Philip Hinchcliffe era is so talked about and so loved, so it's hard to know what else there kind of is left to say at this point, like in that kind of way. But I would say it's like in the middle, but I would say like top half of the middle. Like it's almost there in the upper tier, but it's not quite. I think it's let down a little bit by the AI stuff, but I mean, I think that's mainly just like as you were saying, Ryan, just like one or two stories. It's not really like at least it's not the whole season that's been affected.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. So yeah, certainly another strong box set, but maybe guys lay off the AI slightly for the next box set. That would be nice. Right, well now hopefully Charlie has sent us in a little video, so let's have a little listen to what Charlie has to say about all things Doctor Who as well.
Hey guys, Charlie here. Sorry I couldn't make it for the actual episode itself. I've been rather busy with a lot of things lately. I should definitely be in the next few, and it is a big shame I missed this episode, since there's a lot of stuff to talk about. I mean, might as well address the elephant in the room. Doctor Who's coming back, which personally I thought we were having a 1989, and it was going to be Doctor Who is never officially cancelled, but is just quietly taken off the air. Not that air really exists, you know. It's just kind of, I assumed they just weren't going to make any more, and that was that, and it was going to be shelved. So it's a very, very pleasant surprise that we're actually getting some more. And while for now it is just we're getting a Christmas special next Christmas, which it sounds like a while away, but it's basically a year away at this point. Although it has been 6 months since the last season ended, so it'll kind of be like a 1985 to 1986 18-month hiatus, but I mean, given the recent gaps between seasons, we're kind of used to that sort of stuff now. But the fact is Doctor Who's coming back, and that's pretty amazing. With Russell, I mean, yeah, Russell's, I'm not too sure whether he's the right guy to bring it back, but as a Doctor Who fan, I'm happy to get more Doctor Who. It's as simple as that, really. I would rather have Doctor Who than not have Doctor Who, even if it's with Russell. Like, I think the finale was not great at all, but I do think there's certain things that were kind of out of his control with Disney and Shooty and everything, and that made the reality war a lot worse than I think it should have been. And I'd quite like them to release the original cut of the episode with Susan at the end and without all the Poppy stuff and the regeneration, if such a thing exists, because I think that would be a considerably better episode than the one we actually got. And it's kind of, I read the article again just now, and they made it quite clear that Russell is doing the 2026 Christmas special. They're also going to do some stuff after it. But it's not like they said that Russell would do that. They just said that Russell would do the Christmas special, which makes me think Russell's going to do this episode. There's talks of David Tennant being in it. Sure. David Tennant's like the Hugh Jackman of Doctor Who. Till he's 90. So I'm not complaining. David Tennant's David Tennant. I'm not going to complain about seeing him in Doctor Who. There's talks about he and this Bad Wolf variant of the Doctor are going to merge and just make a new Doctor, and then that's going to be the 16th Doctor, and then it's all sorted. I don't know. Sure, bring it on. I just want a good episode, and it is a shame we're not getting anything sooner. But the fact that we're having a Doctor Who episode in 2026 is extremely, extremely surprising to me, because I was resigned to the fact that 2026 would be the first year since 2004 to not have an actual Doctor Who episode released in a calendar year. But that's not the case, so it's great. And hopefully that can lead us into a season in 2027, and we'll get a Doctor casting announcement, hopefully early 2026. Maybe even in a few weeks, who even knows? Because, we can assume that there's going to be a regeneration at the end of this episode, because it's not like Billie Piper's going to be in the season after. I don't know. There's no way Billie Piper's going to be the Doctor for a whole season. And I don't think she even is the Doctor. I think she's going to be this weird Bad Wolf version of the Doctor. She's not the 16th Doctor, though. She's not. We do not know who the 16th Doctor is. But truthfully, I'm just still sad that Nshute's gone. And he deserved better and more seasons, I think. Another positive we can all take from this is that Disney is done. So hopefully, even if the budget's lower, I think we can all agree we just want more episodes. Whether it be 12, 13. Personally, I think we should go back to the Unearthly Child days. 1963, give us 42 episodes a season. Get Doctor Who running for all but 3 weeks of the year. 3 months even. No, not seriously, but I genuinely would not be opposed to a classic Who style season where we get 20 sort of 25-minute long episodes, and that's 5 4-parters. I would genuinely love that, because that's the same amount of time as 10 50-minute episodes, which is what we were getting in the Jodie Whittaker era, and I thought that was fine. It wasn't perfect, 13 45-minute episodes is obviously brilliant, but I think Doctor Who's format needs to change, because I've talked about this in loads of different Doctor Who episodes. It's not even my idea originally, to be fair. But I do think Doctor Who is kind of behind the times when it comes to making TV in general. And I think it could do with just doing something different. I think Flux, I'm not a Chibnall fan. I'm kind of a huge Chibnall hater. But I think he had the right idea with Flux. I don't think he did it very well. But I think seasons, if we did a sort of Flux, Key to Time, Trial of a Time Lord sort of thing, where it's like a 6-part huge episode, like Dalek's Master Plan sort of thing. I know Dalek's Master Plan is 12, but it's half the length. You know what I mean? They're a similar length in terms of total runtime, but do a sort of thing like that where it's one big story, make it serialized, like Netflix has been doing for the past 10 years. I don't know, do something like that, or just kind of make TV, they need to know who their audience is, because I can appreciate Doctor Who being the sort of variety show that's for everyone, but I'd rather they kind of commit to doing dark stuff, or don't, and make it silly and whimsical, because we kind of flip-flop between all of that way too much for my liking. And there's elements of that are good, but I would rather kind of, I don't know, I kind of want them to lean into the weird and experimental properly, and not just do it sometimes, but then sometimes don't bother. If we're talking about new showrunners, I would rather someone who's never done Doctor Who before. My choice would be Charlie Brooker, who is very famous for Black Mirror. Realistically, it's not going to be him, quite simply because he's doing Black Mirror, and he's probably always going to do Black Mirror. He would be my choice. I think he'd make amazing Doctor Who. If not him, I don't know, James Gunn. Obviously, wrong side. Bit of a fan, but no, I truly don't know. honestly. Charlie Brooker would be my best pick, but it's probably not going to happen. And there's also, there's Pete McTighe, who's kind of an obvious choice-ish, but like I would rather some completely fresh blood. In a perfect world, someone I've never even heard of. I just want someone completely new to stop having this weird, like, regurgitation of ideas in Doctor Who that we've been having for the past few years. Not like Stephen Moffat coming back or something. I don't know. Anyway, that's enough about this new season. I'm getting ahead of myself. It's the first time I've been excited about Doctor Who in about 6 months. War Between the Land and the Sea is coming out next month. Cool. I'm not hyped for this at all, just because Reality War was such a mess. I think it is going to be good, though. Like, my heart says I don't care. My brain says it's probably going to be alright. I think it's going to be decent. We know it's premiering in December, but there's going to be like 6 episodes, so probably ending in January, I guess. And I'm sure we'll do a few discussions on those. But I am quite looking forward to it, genuinely. I think it'll be alright. And it's more Doctor Who content at the end of the day, and it'll be a nice thing to sort of bridge the gap between now and Christmas. If anything, now and next Christmas. If anything, I'd rather have it next spring to kind of, be a bit more halfway between now and then. But I'll take what I can get, truly. I think it'll be okay. Now, the main part of the episode, season 13, a controversial one. In terms of all of the collection box sets. Interesting what they've decided to do. Season 13 in general is just important to talk about. The actual season is obviously kind of, I don't want to say the magnum opus of Doctor Who, but it kind of is. Like, I think season 7 is the best, and series 1 of 2005 is also amazing. Series 10 is also pretty great. Season 10 is pretty great. Season 8, season 1, Season 5, there's loads of great ones. Season 16 for me is my favourite Tom Baker season. I know that's quite unpopular because of the last 2 stories, but truly I love the Armageddon Factor, and I don't vibe with Power of Kroll, but I feel like the other 5 are so good that I'm willing to look past it. But anyway, season 13 is it's one of the most iconic and sort of, it's kind of like the obvious best one in a sense. Like, it's got everything, doesn't it? It's got Tom Baker in his prime. It's got Elizabeth Sladen in her prime. Everything's just perfect. Philip Hinchcliffe, amazing. The writing, all 6 stories are amazing, iconic, memorable. You've got The Seed of Doom in there, which is my favourite Tom Baker story. Closely followed by like City of Death and Androids of Tara, maybe. I mean, it's amazing. Pyramids of Mars, obviously, slightly soured by Empire of Death. But nevertheless is an amazing story in its own right. We have talked a lot about Pyramids of Mars. Even, Terror of the Zygons had some behind-the-scenes issues, as we all know, between Tom Baker and Nicholas Courtney, but still an amazing story. It doesn't really miss. I used to hate Planet of Evil. I love Planet of Evil now. There's not too much to say about it. It's just a pretty neat story, amazing production design. I'd say it's just one of those seasons where sort of everything clicked into place, and it was kind of perfect almost. There's not too much else to say. It's an amazing season of Doctor Who, and probably my top 5 of classic Doctor Who, I'd say. For me, it's mainly just missing like the Master, really. But that's just because I'm a sucker for the Pertwee era, to be fair. Anyway, AI, love it or hate it. I think more people tend to not like AI. I'd say I'm one of those that's just not a fan. I'm not a fan. I personally love the vintage, dated look of 70s Doctor Who. I think it adds to the charm. I'm not a huge fan of the way it's sort of made everything look a bit more glossy. It's like straightened Tom Baker's teeth. It's given everyone manicures. Like we've all seen the YouTube video. We've all seen the tweets. It's just a bit silly. I just disagree with it. I don't think it's needed at all. I think the upscaling they've done for the past 15 collection box sets is completely fine. I think there's more. It's just not necessary in the slightest. it's so bad. I'm curious as to what you guys have to say about this. I'm definitely gonna listen to, to this all back, but just not. It's not it really. It just I love looking at classic Doctor Who when I'm watching it and thinking, because it reminds me all of this bad production, like these not bad, but like subpar production values. It makes it it's very obvious that the budget was incredibly low. I like looking at it and thinking, like, oh wow, they still managed to put all of this together. They still managed to get really creative with it, make amazing stories, even on this low budget. But now they're just making them look all glossy, and I feel like give AI another 10 years, they'll be making them all like, they'll be remaking the entire things, but with like, 2025, 10 million quid an episode budgets. And I'd rather not have that. I like the original charm of 70s Doctor Who, and I mean even 60s Doctor Who. Like even the Web Planet's not an amazing story, but it's hilarious to watch all of the bug costume guys on wires going past. It's just fun to watch, and I feel like the AI upscaling just removes the charm of it, and even in tiny ways, it's just kind of uncanny valley, and you can just tell that AI was used, and it just looks ugly. You can tell that humans have not had a hand in making this, and it's just computers, and it's not pretty, guys. I'm not a huge fan of this at all. But moving on, it's in terms of the special features, the VAM, which we're named for, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. There's not too much to say. It's a very by the numbers formula. Like with these collection box sets, they know exactly what they're doing. They basically do the same thing every time. And I'm not even complaining, because it really does work. They're so good. There's so much care and effort put into these. Like, I was just slagging off the AI upscaling, but it's pretty decent. Like, you can't really miss with these. They're really, really good quality box sets. I still don't have all of them in person. I've got some of the older ones I still don't have. I should really try and get, even if it's just the sort of standard edition ones, not the nice limited edition boxes we get. But I mean, I can't really complain. It's pretty great. I am really rambling on about all of this, guys. I'm very sorry. If you're still here listening to this, like, I applaud you. Well done. Thank you. But the Graham Harper in conversation did not miss. Quite simply, it's an amazing documentary. It's an amazing interview. I'd say my favourite of the whole range is probably maybe the second Tom Baker one from, was it season 17? I think that was from. Either that or the John Levine one we talked about a few months ago for the season 7 box set. That was absolutely fantastic. I really did adore that interview. But this one didn't miss. Of course, with the Tom Baker seasons, it's quite funny to see, because there's 7 Tom Baker seasons. You're not going to give Tom Baker 7 in conversation interviews, are you? And sadly, we can't for Elizabeth Sladen or Ian Marter, sadly, which is a segue, of course, into the Ian Marter documentary, which was emotional. These box sets are really fascinating because we have these amazing documentary makers, Chris Chapman, of course, who, it makes us feel so bad for these, these people who worked on and with Doctor Who for, decades ago, who have died decades ago, and yet they managed to make it so emotional. It's truly, it's an amazing form of art, these documentaries, and I really can't applaud Chris Chapman enough for his work on these box sets. It's fantastic. Toby Hadoke too, of course. Tom Talks doesn't miss. Who doesn't love Tom Baker? I feel like David Tennant has surpassed him in terms of how iconic he is and how related to Doctor Who he is. But Tom Baker is, of course, the OG David Tennant, in the sense that he's just an absolute legend. And of course, we only have season 16 left, right? Out of Tom Baker's seasons, we do. So that should be. And that is my favourite Tom Baker season, of course, so that should be a brilliant one. Behind the Sofa. Cool. Behind the Sofa's Behind the Sofa. I have not watched all of them. I always watch a couple of them. Usually the ones that I feel are going to be the most entertaining. Like for season 17, it was it was City of Death and Creature from the Pit, of course. We've gone. I mean, we had that phase back in like 2021, 2022 where we mentioned Naruto, of course, like every single episode of the podcast, and we probably failed to do that when we were talking about season 1 and season 2 last year and this year. But quite entertaining, good memories. But yes, of course, Behind the Sofa, it's brilliant. Sadie Miller, nice to see. Yeah, Katie Manning, Colin, Janet, and Sarah, obviously, is just kind of a classic. It used to be with this range back in the sort of late 2010s, early 2020s. Oh, I wonder who they're gonna have on this Behind the Sofa. And now it's just kind of like, I wonder who Colin Baker's with, because he seems to be in all of them nowadays. But I'm not complaining, because Colin Baker's an absolute delight, and I have an infinite amount of respect for the man, given he has, you know, he was basically screwed over really hard by Doctor Who, by everyone, and he still loves it, and he even returned in Power of the Doctor, of course, and he's doing all these box set stuff. He's just a legend. Colin Baker, if by some chance you're listening to this, you're a legend, mate. Thank you. Overall, yeah, there's not too much more to say. It's a brilliant box set. Again, obviously the AI stuff really does drag it down for me. I probably need to watch through some of the older box sets and kind of compare the upscaling, and sort of compile a ranking of all these collection box sets, because there's a lot of them now. This is definitely somewhere up there. You know, like I said, the formula is essentially the same for all of these, so it's very hard to compare them. But yeah, it's a great box set, really. But yeah, I'm gonna leave it there, guys. Thank you for listening to my little segment. I'm very sorry again I could not be on this episode. It's a real shame, but I'm very much looking forward to talking about War Between the Land and the Sea. And as much as my heart does not care too much about this, I really hope that I do enjoy the first episode. Not that we even have a release date yet. We know it's December 2025, so it could be in like 4 weeks' time. It could be in like 9 weeks' time. we don't really know. But that's just modern day BBC stuff for us. But anyway, I'll pass it back over to the other guys now. But yeah, thank you for listening. See ya.
Well, that is just about all we've got time for on this edition of the podcast. We will be back in some form to cover the War Between the Land and the Sea, which is coming out next month, which is pretty crazy. So we have at least got some new vaguely Doctor Who related content coming in December. So yes, do join us all for a discussion of War Between the Land and the Sea. But for now, from me, from Brian, and from Bill, and from Charlie via video, it's goodbye for now.